Now in this video I would like to discuss some of the available plugins that go with Cryengine. Now in this introductory series on how the editor works, we will not actually be going into using these tools, but if you are familiar with other game engines and other 3D applications, I wanted to give you some resources so that you could get up and running if you want to go further after these lessons. Now, apparently the people at Crytek use Max because for 3ds Max they have some very simple solutions to getting your plugins. You need a Cryengine plugin for exporting from your 3D application or from Photoshop. So let's look at our 3D apps first. In the case if you are using Max, you're simply going to go to Tools, CryMax Tools, and you're going to copy to Max BAT file, and you're going to take that and you're going to copy it. Now let's have a look-see at this. So go over to Cryengine, find Tools and CryMax Tools, and you will see this copy to Max BAT file. Now all you have to do is run this and it should install everything to Max. But that doesn't always work. Most times it does, but occasionally it fails and you have to install manually. So, if you have to install manually, we're going to locate our appropriate DLU file. In my case, that would be, we'll back up one here. Since I'm using 2014, CryExport 15 is actually for 2013, but it'll work for 2014. You want the _64 if you're running 64-bit. Or if not, you want just the regular DLU. But you can back up from there 2013, 12, 11, 2010, so on and so forth. Copy that DLU file and copy it to your Max Plugins folder. Then we're going to go back to Tools, CryMax Tools, and you're going to find this Load CryMax Tools Max script. Copy that to your script startup folder in Max, and then you should be set up in Max. I am not a Maya user, so I am not going to go over installing Maya. However, I am going to give you this URL that goes through the manual installation of Maya, which is very similar to setting up Max manually. And you can see if we back up that we also have Maya export MLL files down here, and that will walk you through it. Alright, so I can already hear the Blender crowd going. We're using a free SDK. We want to use free 3D tools too. What does Cryengine do for us? Well, nothing. But the people at Blender, very wonderfully, let me grab this one and bring it over. People over at Blender Nation have created a Blender plugin. So here is the URL for that. You can go over there if you're a Blender user and you can get a plugin installed that will work for Cryengine. So thanks to the great people over at Blender Nation for creating that, since we do have a great many Blender users. Now shortly we'll be going into installing our plugins for Photoshop. I did find this crydev.net topic that shows a GIMP workaround. So if you don't have Photoshop and you're using GIMP, go research there and that will get you set up. Next, let's talk about installing that Photoshop stuff. Alright, Photoshop plugins. Now you're going to have to go find a few DLL files and also a Crytek plugin for CS4 is the latest one they have on there. But at any rate, let's take a look here. You're going to go into your Cryengine folder. Now oddly, even if you have a 64-bit system that you have Photoshop on, the files you want will be located in bin 32. So we'll open it up that and you will find a ton of files in there, and there's 3 of them you need. You need zlib, and you need libtiff, and you need JPEG 62. At any rate, I have copied these here so that you can refer to those when you hunt for them, and you're going to install that into your Photoshop root directory. And then lastly, we're going to find Crytek plugins CS4, So we'll come back out of bin 32. And we'll go into Tools. And where we found all of our Max and Maya stuff, we will find Crytek in either 32 or 64, depending on which bit system you're using. And you're going to copy that to your plugins folder for Photoshop. And then you should be set up. The only difference you'll notice in Photoshop is when you go to save your TIFF files for textures, instead of just having an option to save it as a TIFF, you will also have an option to save it as a Crytek. Now, the reason that is important is because Crytek will not just save a TIFF. It will also save another format that it can read in Cryengine and get better performance out of the texture. So you got to have that too. So in our next video, we will move on to actually playing around and moving around in Cryengine. But like I said, I wanted to get this information to you guys just in case anybody does have any experience with, say, UDK or something like that, and at the end of this wants to take it a little bit further on their own. See you in the next video.